Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll go straight to introduce our second speaker, who is going to talk to us on strategic change management for institutional development. He's also the country director of CILG in Nigeria. So I'm introducing Dr. Segun Ojarotade, who is a fellow of the CILG Leadership and Governance USA, and then country director for Nigeria. Dr. Segun Ojarotade. Dr. Segun, please forgive me for not mentioning your surname properly. He holds a BSc in economics, a PGD in education, MSc in economics, MBA in human resources management, and a honorary doctorate in strategic business management. He's a certified management trainer. He's also a certified Toastmaster, International Toastmaster certified. He's the trainer on project management, leadership, motivational speaker. He's a business, he's a Chartered Institute of Leadership and Governance, USA CILG, Director of Membership Africa. Can you please hear me? Sorry.
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you. Go on. Genevieve, yes, we can hear you. Go on. Go on.
Sorry. Hello, can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you. Go on.
Sorry, thank you so much. Okay. Dr. Segun is an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Warehousing and Material Management, associate member of Chartered Institute of Project Management. He's an ambassador of International Summit of Leader 2019. He is an award recipient of African Youth Leadership Icon 2018. He's also an African Patriotic Personality 2020 awarded by Pan-African Student Movement of West Africa and a Southwest Nigerian Excellence Outstanding Leadership Award winner in 2020. He's a host of African Leadership and Governance Summit in Nigeria 2018 and 2019. With no doubt, you are going to enjoy this session with Dr. Segun Ojarotade today. Doctor, I welcome you on behalf of CILG Ghana and CILG Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I really appreciate all my senior colleagues in the House, the Director of Africa, Dr. Adams Bediako, the Deputy Director, Dr. Oliver, the Director of Programs for Africa, Dr. Justine, our moderator, all participants present. Today I will be speaking on change management. Please, can you see my screen over there?
Yes, please.
All right, wonderful. Okay. Today I'll be sharing with us on strategic change management. And I would like to encourage our participants to maximize the opportunity of these few minutes we are going to spend together on this platform. Every organization in the recent time, you will agree with me, that we are all facing pressure for changes due to globalization, pandemic, competition, government or private initiative, or one reason or the other. We are all facing one challenges or the other in our businesses. In my last paper presentation on navigating business to next level, I said 40% of businesses may never reopen after this pandemic. 25% of businesses that even do reopen may collapse within a year. And 30 to 40 CEO may experience post-traumatic challenges. So today, in my last paper presentation on navigating business to next level, I said 40% of businesses may never reopen. Can you hear me, please? 25% of businesses that even do reopen may collapse within a year, and 30 to 40 CEOs may experience post-traumatic challenges. Hello, sir. Hey, can you hear me, please? Hello? Can you hear me, please?
Yes,
Hello?
we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, the thing is trying to re-echo. I'm hearing myself twice.
Maybe some people are here to mute their...
Okay. So our outline for today, we're going to be looking at overview of change management, concept of change management, forces of change management, pitfall in a change management, types of change management. We'll be looking at phases for change management, processes of change management, and how to evaluate change. And we'll look at one or two change models, which is very, very important. And the objective of our section this morning, at the end of this section, all participants should be able to identify reasons for organizational change management. They should be able to troubleshoot pitfall in a change management, because change is a process. Change is not what we think it is. Change is not what you do because you receive an email. Change is not what you do because of a pandemic. It involves a process. That is why you see 60% of organizations that implement CO never achieve it, because they don't see it as a process. They don't follow it as a process. So today, we'll be able to troubleshoot the pitfall in a change management. We'll be able to implement different types of change management. Of course, we'll be able to carry out change management processes with ease in our various organizations. I'll be sharing one or two models with us because of our time, and some tools we can use. Like I said earlier in my introduction, that every organization in the recent times facing pressures for changes due to the pandemic, due to the competition. This is the time for us to do something productive as an institution, because the world is cramping right now. Everyone is embracing digital tools to switch over. Education is switching to online. Supermarkets are using app for delivery right now. Training, communications, meetings are all Zooming. Global markets are in a record decline. There are massive layoffs all over, with much, even more to still come even after the pandemic is over. Several businesses have already gone under. As a matter of fact, some are dead, some are dying, some are in the process of collapsing right now. No more capital. You agree with me, it's no longer a secret. To start business right now is difficult. And it's also easy to start new one. Because when some are trying to sell their business right now, it's a new business for others. This is the best time for some people to start a new business. This is the best time for some people to acquire a new business. So changes has occurred in every segment of businesses. And CILG is in the forefront to provide solutions on how organizations can scale or navigate the changes processes. That is why we are here at CILG, to offer a strategic change management to individual organizations, institutions, on how to manage change in a structural ways. So join me within these few minutes as we discuss together change management in our organization. Let me begin with the meaning of the word change. What is the meaning of the word change? Change means transition from current states to a future one. Change means what? Transition from a current state to a future one. Change can be addition, change can be modification. If you look at these three boxes, you will see that changes move from a current situation, it transits to a future level. Change occurs as a process, not as an event. That is the implication of what you see on the board. There are a lot of events now that prone organizations to change. But you don't just change if you don't understand the process. You need to understand the current state. The current state is where we are right now. The current state defines who we are. The current state is the collection of the process we are using at the moment. There's a behavior of our organization. It's the structure we are using. The current state is the state that we know right now. So we want to navigate. We want to move because of infrastructural development, strategic changes, because of government, because of competitions, because of COVID, or because of one thing or the other that are slammed on our businesses. So you need to understand from the known, we want to move to an unknown. So the current state is where we are as an organization, as an individual. Then we are going to the future. But before we get to the future, we need to transit. There is a transition stage. The transition stage is the confused stage, is the disorganized stage, is the difficult stage, is the unpredictable state that we have. Is the state of fear, is the state of anger, is the state of worry, is the state of challenge. That's the transition state. Whereas the future is where we are trying to get to, even though it's unknown. So I want to encourage you this morning to see change as a process. Don't just see change as one-off that you will just do without following the step, because people find it difficult to change. People are used to one thing or the other. So when we see change as a process, like I said, change occurs as a process, not an event. It involves three sets of people: the current situations, the transition, the future. Who are the people in the current situation? The employees, the managers, the supervisors. These ones are operations. They implement what the leaders introduce to them. Then the executive are in the future. They predict what should be done in the next 5-6 years. That's the executive. The executive job, they are responsible for compensation. They are responsible for strategy. They are responsible for deciding on how the organization function in the next 6 months, in the next 1 year, in the next 2 years. So the executive are in the future. The employee, the manager, the supervisor, they are in the current situation. Then the project team, they are the ones that navigate, that investigate, that decide on the path to follow. They work more on transitional strategy, the project team. So you need to know where you belong to out of these three categories, because changes are divided into three: the current stage, the transition stage, and the future level. So we must understand the current state, where we are, what we are doing, why we want to change, the need for change. Like I said, change is a transition from current state to a future state. Why you need to handle change as a process is simply because whenever there is change, processes are altered, systems are altered, job roles are altered, organizational structures are altered, and many things are bound to what? To change when change occurs in an organization. So as a leader, you need to get this concept. You need to understand this principle that change is a process. That's the fundamental of what I'm trying to state here this morning. Then what is change? What is strategic change management? Change management or change is a transition from the current to the future. Then change management or strategic change management. Change management or strategic management is the systematic approach or journey. Systematic approach to adjusting organizational process, procedure, strategy, and attitude, functions of technology from their existing state to the one that is considered superior. Change management is systematic. Change management requires strategy, require procedure, require processes, require attitudinal change. You don't just carry out change without following some steps and strategy. Why strategic change management is the management of the structure to meet the organizational goal. You can see from this analysis on the board that change is a process. So I want to document this in our memory earlier. That change is a process. And change management is a process of managing the change that occurs due to one thing or the other. As a leader, we require procedure, we require strategy, we require processes to manage the change, to implement the change. Very important at this foundational level for us to know that you don't just implement change without understand the process. So I will share with us as we move on these processes. Having understand change as a process, there are two levels of changes in an organization that you must take note. Changes take place at individual level. These are your staffs, these are your managers, your supervisors, name them. And changes take place at organizational level. So have it behind your mind at the beginning that I cannot change organization without changing the individual. Changing can be from top down, it can be from down up. I hope you can hear me, please. I hope you can hear me, please.
Yes, Doc.
We can hear you.
Right.
We can hear you.
So changes take place in two levels, at individual level, at organizational level. A lot of CEOs, a lot of leaders, they get it wrong because they focus on organizational change without consider the individual. The individual are the one that made up of the organization, and they are the one that will carry out these changes. So there is a model here called the Prosci ADKAR Model. We use it for process of individual changes and process of organizational changes. So according to ADKAR process model, the ADKAR is an acronym for awareness of the need for change, desire to support the change, knowledge, that's what K stands for, ability or action, that's what A stands for, ability or action, that's what A stands for, and R, which is the last one, stands for reinforcement. So this model is trying to give us a process to use on individual when change is about to take place. I'm going to explain. There are different models, but I like using this model for individual and organization. What is ADKAR talking about? ADKAR said, if you want to implement change, if you want to manage change as a process, the first thing you need to do is call awareness. You need to show them, the employee, what is working and what is not working. Change don't just take place without communication. You need to let them see the need for us to adjust, the need for us to change, the need for us to shift. That is awareness of the need for change. You need to show your team, your employee, where the problem lies. You need to let them understand the reason why change need to take place. That's the A for awareness. You need to focus on the reason why change must take place. That's what awareness is talking about. So change does just take place on individual without awareness. Number 2, desire. You need to communicate the benefits of change to them. What they stand to gain. You need to build momentum in them. You need to address their fear. You need to alleviate their worries. Because one thing we change is that it's not the way you are thinking that employees are what? Thinking. So after communication, the next one is knowledge. Whatever changes you want to take people through, you need to train them. That's what knowledge is talking about. You need to do what? Coach them. You need to address their skill gap. Because a lot of people, for example, you introduce ICT in your organization now. Your staff will against your strategy. Your staff will not want it because they don't know how to use it. They will frown at it because it will challenge them. So you need to train them. That is knowledge. Then the ability, or you call it action, is talking about set goals for them. Set a performance, monitoring performance yardstick for them. Then the R is talking about what? Reinforcement. Reinforcement is talking about monitoring change. It's talking about reward people that follow it adequately. Compensate them so that they will be able to appreciate what you are doing for them. That's what reinforcement is talking about. So according to Prosci ADKAR, changes take place at 2 levels, individual and organizational level. At individual level, you use this model. Awareness first, desire second, knowledge third, action or ability fourth, and reinforcement. Then, at organizational level, that's another level. At organizational level, very important, very germane, there are 3 sequences that you need to follow when change is to take place at organizational level. We have stage 1, preparing for change. When you are preparing for change, you are assessing the need for change, the reason why change should take place. You are developing a strategy why change should take place at the initial level, which you can also see as a current level. Then phase 2, managing change. It's talking about detailed plan of a change management, how you intend to implement it, how you intend to carry it out. And the 3rd stage, at organizational level, is talking about reinforcing, that is the corrective measure, the evaluation method, the gathering method, the data gathering of what worked and what refused to work, what failed to work at organizational level. The same outcome suggests there are 5 tools at organizational level that you can use in relation to what you use at individual level. Communication plan, very key and germane. Sponsor roadmap, coaching plan, training plan, resistance management, because some people will resist your change. You should prepare for that as a leader. But the first thing you need to do at organizational level, when you are preparing for change or when you want to manage people at change level, communication is very what? Very, very important. And this same ADKAR model suggested 7 change process models. When you want to do communication, 7 change model. You can see that on the board. It talks about the sender and the receiver. It talks about the resistance. It talks about the authority for change. It talks about the value system. It talks about the incremental and radical change. It talks about the right answer. It's not enough. I'm going to explain them one by one. At organization level, I talked about communication. And I'm using this 7 model by ADKAR about sender and receiver. Every change can be viewed from 2 perspectives, the sender and the receiver. The organization bringing the change, and the receiver, which are the staff, the manager, the employee, the supervisor receiving the changes. You need to understand that 2 of them, they talk past one another. What a sender is saying and what a receiver is hearing, they are 2 different things. Let me place emphasis on the receiver. The receiver is hearing, if this change takes place, I may lose my job. That's what the receiver is hearing. The receiver is hearing the company is having trouble. That's why they want to implement change. The receiver, which is the staff, they are hearing, these people are going to sack me. The receiver are hearing, I don't trust these people. The receiver are hearing the change that takes place in another organization. This is what ended the procedure. So you need to understand as a leader that in communication, there are sender and there are receiver. And you need to factor the receiver, your staff, how they reason, how they think. What they are thinking is different from what you are thinking. They are thinking if they lose the job at their age, how would they cope? With the two wives they are having, with 6 children, how would they cope? So they want you to live them the way they are. So as a leader, what do? You must let them know why the change is necessary at communication level. You must let them know the risk of not changing, how it's going to affect them. You must let them see value for why change must take place now. You must show them how the change will align with the organizational vision and how it's going to enhance their capacity. As a supervisor, what do? You must show them how the change will impact on the organization and how it's going to have positive impact on them. You must communicate in line with the management as a supervisor. You must show the employee, you must show the lower staff what the change, what they will benefit from the change if they allow it to take place. So you must consider the receiver when you are trying to implement a process of change. That is number 1 under communication. Then we talked about the resistance. You will agree with me. The staff, we always like to resist some of them because change creates uncertainty. Change creates fear. The unknown can block the changes. They are afraid, they are scared. You agree with me now, some marriages are crashed already. Some businesses are shut down because change is about to take place. So there's going to be resistance. Their salary will be affected. There's going to be resistance. Their branches, they may shut down some branches. There's going to be resistance. They will think of the impact on their work. They will think of the trust on the management. They will consider so many alignments. So as a leader, what do? Do not react to the resistance. Do not be surprised to the resistance. You should be expectant. So you need to plan on how to mitigate the resistance. You need to be patient with them because it's very difficult. Change is very difficult. And the authority for change, very important. The authority for change must support the employee. They must support the organization. They must provide sufficient resources. Sufficient what? Resources that will make the change to work. That is the authority for change here. I said earlier that change is a process. It's not what you just do. So the authority, the executive, the sponsor, they must establish a priority between the competing initiative, between the worries of the staff. That is why many changes fail. Because the authority don't care about staff. They don't care about the way value system is another thing very germane. Organization is important to our organization. How is decision being made in our organization? How do we implement it? Who is to implement it? Who is to carry it out? So you must to create a value system. You must to build a system on how the sequence of how the change will take place. How the radical change will take place. Very important. You must to look at the gap between where we are now and where we are going to. Very key. You must to look at the difference between the present and the future and how to get there. Then the last one, the right answer. I'll tell you this morning that change comes to life through the work and behavior of an individual. If you don't work on an individual, change will be frustrated. Change will be difficult. So you need to come up with the right solution, with the right strategy, with the right modality, with the right formula on what to do. You need to create a buy-in with your team. Otherwise, the change will be frustrated. You need to create commitment. What do you reward them with? If they implement the change, if they cooperate with you, what do? You need to mitigate the resistance. So it's not enough to just tell them what to do. You must to prepare to eliminate fear in their mind. Change is a process. You need to get this, very important. As I begin to fast track my delivery this morning, organizational change is a structure. It's a structural process to help people to adopt and adapt to a new reality of change. So you need to define the goal of your change. You need to design the approach. You need to deploy the change strategy, and you need to deliver it adequately. But you need to understand, you must to have a structural process to help people to adjust to the new reality. It's a collection of approaches. It's a collection of strategy. It's a collection of methodology. It's a collection of teamwork. It's not what you just think it will just happen overnight. So when do you think an organization needs a change? Change is undertaking for job process change, for the structure, for role change, for duty change, and many more. And what are the goals of organizational change? The purpose of change is to maximize the possibility in relation to the environment. Environment are changing now. So how do we maximize adaptation? How do we adjust? How do we adopt a new strategy? How do we transform our old model to the new model? How do we manage the process of change and limit the error? Above all, the concept of change is about changing people's mindset to view things that will now live on and work on a new world change. So how do you transform people's mindset? That's what I've explained to you. You need to follow these 7 processes as released by ADKAR Model. Consider the receiver. They are thinking of their wife at home. They are thinking of their age. They are thinking of their salary. I'm aware of an organization that reduced salary by 10%, 20% during this season, and they are still complaining that they shouldn't have reduced anything because that particular man used the salary to pay for school fees, and the man has to borrow. So receivers are not, if you don't know how to structure the change process, they will not concur with you. It will be frustrated. Because of our time, you need to understand that people are very difficult to change. People are comfortable with what they are, what they do, where they are. So you need initiative, you need creativity, you need structure, you need model to help them to change. They want to trust you, otherwise they will not follow you. They want to believe in you as a leader. I'm talking to you as a leader this morning. Why do you think many changes don't work? Many changes don't work because 31% of the causes of change failure are people. People, that is the staff, the employee. When you don't structure the communication, when you don't consider the receiver, when you don't factor in their process, when you don't see change as a process, you want to do it at once. It is gradual, step by step. You return people orientation gradually. 31% of project failure, 31% of change failure because of project management. A lot of CEOs, a lot of leaders don't understand that changes implementation itself is a project. And project, you need to understand, is a temporary endeavor that needs to be undertaken to produce a unique result. You need to see that as a project, it follows processes that are initiating level, that are planning stage, that are execution stage, that are monitoring and control stage, that are planning stage, very key. If you don't follow this process, you're three. The reason for failure, 19% of failure are communication, poor communication. Like I said, I place emphasis on receiver, integrations, and many others. What are the barriers involved in change management? Mindset and attitude. Look at that lady there. People are always resistant to change. If you don't see it as a process, if you don't handle it as a project. Culture is another reason. Shortage of executive commitment. It's easy for change to happen, but how committed are the staff? How committed are the management? How committed are the leaders? Lack of transparency. A lot of people introduce change because of something they want to do underground, because of something they want to do that they will not tell you. So lack of transparency, it makes employees not to trust change and poor motivation. As I begin to round up, what are the forces of change management? You can see from the image above, who want to change? Everybody raise up their hand. They want change. Who wants to change? Nobody raise up their hand. Who wants change? Everybody raise up their hand. Everybody wants change. But who want to change? Who? Individual. Nobody want to change. So you need to understand what are the forces that make people change. So before I go into that, look at the image you are seeing on the board. This is a particular animal in Nigeria. I don't know whether it's in your own state or your own country. This animal change by environment. This animal is forced to change when he finds himself in a green area, he changes the color to green. When he finds himself in a red environment, he changes to the color. So changes take place either because of business structure. You move from service to product. You move from product to service. So changes can what? Can take place. Very key. Merger and acquisition is another reason why change takes place. If two organizations match together, you will agree with me, things cannot remain the same. Political agenda, when the product lifespan has fallen, organizations are bound to change. As it stands now, you need to change some product you are selling because it's no longer in vogue. The life share is gone. Business structures. When you change the financial structure, when you change the policy, things are bound to change. So there are two types of forces of change. We have external forces, we have internal forces. External forces are the socio-cultural forces that affect what? Changes. They are little changes or that cause changes. When I talk about socio-cultural forces, they are mainly the norms, like educations, populations, intensity, literacy, traditions, customs, and forces around. These things can bring changes in our organization externally because we have no control over them. Economic forces, buy and selling, market demand, capacity of the customers to patronize you, cost and benefits can affect your business to change. Political and legal forces, technological forces, work environment, like what we are passing through right now, it necessitates change. It necessitates customer loyalty. Customers have changed their perspective of what they do now. Look at religious circle, for example. People prefer to sit at home now to worship their God. The environment has changed. Then we have internal change. Top management, corporate philosophies and corporate policies is another thing that can also cause what? Internal changes. Philosophies and corporate philosophy can change, and it's going to change now during this pandemic. When a particular CEO or a particular top manager retire, or when he's being promoted, some things need to change when a new person assumes the office. Changes in perception and attitude. When a new leader is coming, it's going to change the perspective and the way things are done. Change in environment and many more. These are factors that bring both internal and external changes. What are the pitfalls you need to avoid so that your changes can work? Communication is very important. One of the things that make change not to work is insufficient communication. Bad leadership style. Bad leadership style. Every employees are very important. They are all stakeholders. We have major, minor stakeholders. You need to factor in every stakeholders. Unprofessional management, you need to avoid it. Lack of control and lack of strategy you are trying to implement. You may wish to implement different type of changes in your organization. We have transformational changes. We have incremental changes, transitional changes, piecemeal changes, technological changes, developmental changes. A shift in work culture, a shift in policy, a shift in target market can lead to what is called transformational changes. Another name for that is strategic changes. Right now, a lot of organizations are reformed from product to service. They are reducing revenue, they are cutting costs. So because they want to cut costs, there is bound to be what transformational changes. Then we have what is called incremental changes. These are changes that take place frequently, but gradually. So I will encourage you, you need to be watchful so that you don't just transform and destroy or chase away your best staff. Changes need to be gradual. Changes need to be systematic. So if you want to do expansion in your business, that is incremental changes. Then we have transnational or operational changes. These are changes that you want to replace the existing process with what? With the new process. That is transnational operational changes. You want to adjust the corporate structure. The merger and operation, when it takes place, you are bound to have what is called transnational changes. When two big giant organizations come together, you are bound to have what is called transnational changes. And it's going to happen now. Piecemeal changes. Technological changes. That is when you bring new, efficient way of doing things. A lot of technological changes are happening all over the world now. People are bringing new methodology, new strategies of doing things. When it happens, it's bound to affect some people. So which one do you want to do in your place? Which one do you want to take place in your organization? Developmental changes. This occur when human beings, through development, gain exposure, gain expression, brain function. When you work on when you train them, when they adopt new strategy, that is developmental. Some organization, what they will do this time around is to increase the skill of their staff, is to boost the skill of their staff, is to empower the labor force. That is developmental work changes. Take note, very important, very germane. Process of changes is a sequence. It's a step that a change team or project follow to apply change management in every event. Don't just carry out change without following what processes. You need to involve the board. Sponsors need to be carried along. Leaders need to be informed. Teams are very key. These are change management board. Service level managers need to be communicated to properly. The managers, the project managers, the business representative, and many more. Your stakeholders, you need to communicate to them. Change is not just one-off. It is process. It is a process. You need to do what is called stakeholder analysis. You need to identify all the people involved in the buying process, in the selling process, in the production process. You need to assess the reason why you need to change. You need to consider the impact of the change. Very important. You need to be ready for the change before you implement it. What are the requirements for change? Number one is readiness. Like I said earlier, communication, very important. Sponsor commitment, very, very important. You need to be ready to provide solutions to people that want to resist the change. What do you do to people that want to follow the change? And how do you reward them? How do you fill the gap that exists? Before change can take place, you need to find out what happened. How will the change look like? Where are we now? And how will the future be? When will the change take place? How will it take place? These are different strategies you need to follow. The sequence of how you need to go about it. Like I said earlier, there are top-down changes, there are bottom-down changes. Which one do you want to take place now? Do you need the change to start from the top managers? Do you need the change to start from the employee upward? And many more. As I begin to close, how do you evaluate change? If you've implemented the change, how do you know whether it's working or it's not working? You need to find out what are the key objectives of the changes. Was the objective achieved? What enabled you to work? Do you effectively plan it? Will you do anything differently next time? Will you use different communication approaches? What are the resistant areas? What actions are you planning to take? And if it occurs, who is going to be responsible? So you need this chart to identify the key area of resistance, the actions you are going to take if it happens. Because of course, some of your staff, some of your team will resist it, no matter how beautiful it is. I've expressed one model to you. Time will not permit me to talk about other models. We have different types of models. But the one we advise you, because of the time, I encourage you to use the model for your own team, which is the ADKAR model. There are other models that time will not permit me to share with us because of our time. As I conclude, change management has structures and intent for moving employees from their current state to their future state. Through effective communication, sponsorship, coaching, training, and resistance management, employees will be led to make the decision to get on board and support change. Leaders should treat the changes you manage as a process. Don't just treat change otherwise. Not as a single event. Change is a process. And you need to understand that individual experiences changes as the changes progress. You need to evaluate and focus on the change management activities. No one experience the changes process the same, even if they're in two departments, if they are of the same age, if they are of the same gender. No two people experience changes in the same way. So I conclude by saying, see change management as a process and adopt this methodology. Thank you for your time as I await your questions and contribution. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you very much, Dr. Segun Ojarotade. This was a very insightful session, and I must say, I have benefited, and I'm sure all other followers, all other audiences are also benefiting so much. One thing that I would say I have really taken out is that yesterday we had teamwork when we're talking about customer centricity, and today we've also had teamwork in change management. So it tells us that teamwork is key to all we do. I'd like to open the floor for any questions, contributions to Doctor's presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, our moderator. Jennifer.
You're welcome. Okay,
Hello.
so I have a few contributions or a few feedback. An eye-opener presentation, insightful presentation. This is from Justin. Justin, okay, Dr. Justin.
Yes.
And please, I think somebody's on the floor. Yes, please.
Hello, Mr. Genevieve.
Yes, please,
Hello.
I'm here.
Okay,
Hello.
we can hear
Hello,
you.
hi. You can hear me?
Yes, please, I
Hello.
can hear you.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone.
Right.
I've got two questions. The
Sure.
first one, how do strategic change management translate to institution development? How do strategic change management translate to institution development? Then the second question, what's the relationship between strategic change management and institution development?
Thank you.
Hello, Doc, please, did you hear the question?
I will allow.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I had the question very well. It's in my culture to allow people contributions before I make my response to that as a trainer. We have other people on this platform, and of course, you've listened to my presentation, and there is a correlation between the questions you asked. But I would like to come other inputs before I added my own on the question. How institutional change development, how change affects institutional change development? Any input before I make my own contribution?
Any input from any of our African directors?
Or directors?
Oh, it's fine. Any.
Okay, let me give this practical example of a company I used to work with. They are still into agrochemicals, and when I joined the company initially, they needed to move from manual to digital in the way they do the accounting process. And I also realized that the MD at that time also understood that. It was difficult getting everyone on board initially when we wanted to move the from manual to computer-based accounting system. But after when we were able to succeed and moved into the computer-based account system, we also saw an increase in sales, and also realized that stocks were being managed and monitored very well. The issue of losses were also minimized in a way. So in my case, I could say that that's the change that came in also in a way helped the institution at that time to increase and maximize their sales.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Just to add to that as well, I will speak from institution development perspective. I think we need to understand that an organization is not an institution. And not all organizations are institutions.
Mm.
So organizations do transition to become institutions. And that transition is facilitated through strategic change management. An institution is equals to an organization plus its adherence to certain values and standards in a certain industry. So strategic change management brings that alignment to values, that alignment to the vision and mission of organizations, thereby bringing organizations to become institutions. So organizations need to adopt the models that Dr. Segun has presented, the principles and concepts that he presented in order to facilitate that transition to institutions. What we need to see more in economies are institutions and not mere organizations that are driven by the shareholder wealth maximization narrative. So when Dr. Segun is indicating the issue of stakeholder engagement and bringing everyone on board, that's being strategic. That's the strategic thinking and the strategic leadership that will lead organizations to then become institutions. So the second question is about the relationship between the two, which is actually a positive relationship. Because when you actually do your strategic change management properly, we then see that alignment and we then see institutional development. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Dr. Justine. Thank you so much.
I'm so sure.
Would you want to add
Hello?
something? Yes, Dr. Shengu.
Yes. Thank you for the input, Dr. Justine and Dr. Adams. I think Mr. Tabani was the one that asked the question. Very important the way Dr. Justine was trying to make us understand that the organization is different from institution. The ability to begin to adhere to the policy, to strategies, adaptations to new formulation, transmute you or translate you from organization to what? To institution. But the bottom line is this. The changes you are bringing will be more fixable if you follow those models as listed. We have about 7 different models, but because I have just 45-minute presentation, I may not have time to split other models. The processes you use determine the success and the failure of the changes you are bringing in. And it will bring transformation to the organization. But if you don't follow those processes as stated, you will discover that you keep changing over and over, and there won't be development, there won't be growth, there won't be progress. The organization will not translate to what? To institutions you are desiring for, because that's your long-term goal. So in addition to what they've said, I will advise, okay, you look at a model that best suits your job, that best suits your organizations. You consider your employee, those are the one I call the receiver. Very important. You communicate appropriately, and you will see the value of change in an institution. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think I saw somebody, Mr. Kluche. Please, you can ask the question you wanted to ask.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Segun. And thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. But I do have a question. We all know that one of the central reasons to causing change in an organization is towards productivity or growth. Now, if you look at the case of reassignment of roles and responsibilities in an organization as a tool, I would like to find out, can this be an effective tool for causing organizational change? And 2, what should be the best approach to use in causing such a change using reassignment of roles and responsibilities? This question is on the back of an experience, especially when you consider the small SME industries. Now, what happens is that most of the time, you get the CEO or whoever is responsible in management role taking the decision, the solo decision, by actually causing a radical change in terms of roles and responsibilities. So that is why I'm asking, what exactly should be the best approach in terms of using reassignment of roles and responsibilities as a tool for causing organizational change and growth? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Danielson. So I still open the floor for my colleagues to make input before I said my own. Thank you.
Can I add one question to it so that it will be 2 questions? Then we can end the session for Dr. Segun after the questions are being answered because of time. This question is from David Joel. Sorry, I didn't get the middle name, but the question is, transition to change is critical. How do you take an organization and personnel through transition to change? That is, this question is from David. This question is from David. But we also have some questions from our social media and platform. Because of our time, sorry, but we'll try and see after the second presenter and see if we can get all those questions also in for those questions to be answered. But for now, let's try and answer these 2 questions. After that, I'll bring the social media questions on change management plus what our prof will also present. Then we answer those ones before we close the session.
All right. Thank you. Dr. Justin, you want to say something?
Well, thank you.
Dr. Danielson.
Okay, I thought I would give others a chance, but it is well.
Yeah,
he's talking about reassignment of roles. Every change management process requires a needs assessment and understanding, clarity regarding the need. We see that we are living in a VUCA environment where there is so much volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, and change has to be instituted or implemented from a position of vision, clarity, understanding, and for you to be agile. And the needs assessment itself should be based on objectivity rather than subjectivity of those in authority or those in power. But what we see in most organizations when it comes to the reassignment of roles is a lot of subjective decision-making by those who have decision-making authority, rather than evidence-based change management processes. So our organizations need to do evidence-based change management, and this can justify whether reassignment of roles is the best approach at any given point in time. In most instances, we do linear approaches to change management, which have been highly contradicted by the current environment, where we need to have some postmodern environment change management approaches, which is based on context, an understanding of the context, an understanding of the need for change, then informs how change should be implemented. So evidence-based change management is the best approach, and looking at a secular visioning approach to change and reassigning roles based on research and proper justifications of the need assessment. Back to you, Doc.
Thank you so much, Dr. Justine, for the contribution.
Thank you, Dr. Justine, for that input. I was also trying to add to what Doctor has said. Dr. Daniel, you need to understand organization reassign role for different reasons. Like I said, changes pass through different stages: the current, the transition, and the future. If I discover that the future where we are going to may be difficult for us to get to at the speculated time, with the current person handling a position, I may change the role. Yes, it's part of the strategy, changing of roles for individuals, because you need to understudy the stakeholders involved. You need to understand your team. And when you discover that based on this current development, for example, somebody is asking that am I suggesting technological strategy? I've suggested different strategy. It's bound for you to look at your structure. Now, this period of technological strategic model now. Somebody has been managing a particular position before, but with the advent of technology, with the need for it, he is not inclined. I can change his role. Yes, for somebody that is more what? Effective. For that, because of the environmental change at the moment, for us to achieve what we want to achieve, some people are occupying a position, and because they carry the title, they don't have what it takes to manage that position because of environmental changes, because of the changes we are facing right now. So I can rededicate, I can reassign for me to achieve my what? My goal. So take note. Outside that, some use that for different reasons. Some because of jealousy, some because of demotion, some because of any other things. Thank you. Transition to change is personal. Of course, that is why I talked about receivers and the person communicating. The way the receivers are thinking is different from the way that you, the organization, is trying to pass the message to them. Some are thinking how to manage their family. So you need to work on their orientation. Yes, you need to coach them. You need to train them. With that, they will be able to see needs to the change you are bringing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Because of time, I would plead that all the other questions can still be posted, but when we are done with the second session and there is time, we will go back and answer the questions for you. So well done. Thank you so much, and good presentation once again. Thank you so
Madam
much.
Genevieve.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Genevieve.
Yes, Dr. Asare Bediako.
Yes, sorry, can we take this last question from His Royal Highness Oledale Olasuji? How do you deal with some elements who resist change within an organization?
How do you deal with some elements who resist change?
Yes.
If you listen to me very well, I said there are going to be resistance. You understand? So you don't react to them the way they bring it. In Yoruba land, thank God the man is in Yoruba. There is a saying that said, it's not the way, it's not how hot pap is that you drink it. If you drink it, it's going to kill your tongue. So you need to understudy that person. Maybe he has not getting the message of change. He has not understand the need for change. So you need to draw him closer for coaching, for private coaching. It's about one-on-one here. You understand? I need to create an atmosphere that he understands. The best way, you know, we have different medium of communication. The way we are communicating, some staff understand it, some don't understand it. So you need to change the mode of your communication to that person, because you don't know whether it's an important staff. You can't let him go at the moment. So you need to be patient with him. You need to look at the approach you use in communicating to him, and you need to come up with a strategy that he will see need for. You can use reward as part of conversation for him to adapt to the change. And you can, of course, you can develop a new fresh trainings and model for him to understand the way to change. There are bound to be